welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where the puzzle on the screen, marvellous though it is not the one I'm going to be trying in today's video. This is Walk in the Mist by Directionary, which is the puzzle we've been encouraging you all to do. I think some 14,000 people have solved this puzzle, which is a very approachable fog of war. In fact, let's just... what will happen if I reload the page? Will it tell me? Look, we're up 14,739 people so far have solved this. So yeah, check this out. But the reason this is on my screen is because Mark has sent me a link, as he's prone to do, when he finds a puzzle that he thinks will be entertaining to garner my reaction to if I open it live on webcam. So I've got the link. Let me copy and paste it into my browser, and we shall have a look at Coordinate Arrows by Piatato. Now, Piatato, I like the puzzles of. This has been solved twice since May the 12th, which is 3 days ago. This is Sven's new counter. And, okay, well, actually, let's have a look at the grid. Ooh. Okay, well, it's busier than I sometimes get with these ones I have to open live on screen. Let's read the rules together so we can understand why Mark thought this would be a good one for me to read. Coordinate arrows. So normal Sudoku rules apply, blah, blah, blah. Digits on an arrow spell out the coordinates for the digit that is their sum. What? The row number is written on the start of the arrow. The column number is written on the arrow tip. If, for example, an arrow looked like this, 1, 4, let's just write 1, 4 into the grid so we can understand. If that's 1, 4, there must be a 5 in row 1, column 4, because 1 and 4 add up to 5. 5 in row 1. All the arrows must correspond to different coordinates. Digits may repeat on an arrow if allowed by other... What? Okay, so this is one of his little jokes, I'm afraid, because this is... Well, this is quite clearly monstrous. Just give me just a second or two. I'm just trying to think about this. So we add up the numbers we put on an arrow, and we put that digit, which is the sum of the arrow, in row whatever that is, column whatever that is, and this is enough information to solve the puzzle. I mean, that's absolutely ludicrous. That is, I mean, it's amazing, and I'm sure it's right. Piatato is a brilliant setter, and I think also a brilliant solver. But I have no idea how we're going to do this. But I will try. I will try and do it. Let me get my list of other things I have to mention. There were some things I have to tell you about today before we kick off. I want to wish Jennifer a belated Mother's Day. AJ wrote to us, and she asked, AJ, I'm not sure whether AJ is, I'm not sure on AJ's gender, but AJ said that that they loved you very much, Jennifer, and you're the best mother, and I guess that means, well, does that mean you're the Piatato of mothers, or the Fistamafel of mothers, or the fog of war of mothers? I don't know, Jennifer, but that is what AJ asked us to tell you. So happy Mother's Day, and I'm sorry that I'm a day late with that. AJ very nearly got the message to me in time on Mother's Day, but I had just recorded the Mother's Day video. Now, Nicole over in Germany, you have turned, I think, 43 today. I know this because your husband Sasha wrote to us, and it was a bit of a cryptic description of your age, but I think it's 43. And Sasha wrote a lot of very nice things about you, Nicole. But I thought that the best one was that he said that you were his 3 in the corner. And if you've been watching the channel for any amount of time, you will know why I think that's very special. And Nicole, I hope you have a brilliant birthday. And then River Well, River, over there in Western Australia, River, it's your birthday tomorrow, but given that this video goes out at 8:30 p.m. UK time, your partner Alex thought that we'd be better off reading out the birthday congratulations on May the 15th. So that's what we're doing, and apparently the two of you do the puzzles that appear on the channel together, which is, I think, a lovely thing for couples to do. Right, the only other things I've got to mention are related to Patreon, where of course we've got DiMono's novella / Sudoku hunt, The Jewels of Osiris, which so many of you have been loving. Well, I can tell you that to say thank you to DiMono for creating that hunt for us, Mark and I are going to attempt something very special. We don't do this, I don't know if we've ever done this on the channel before, but we are going to attempt one of DiMono's monster puzzles and solve it together in a video. So I don't know exactly when. If we get time later today, we might have a go at it for tomorrow, because I've got to do tomorrow I've got to do scoring at the US Open golf competition at Walton Heath. So that might be tomorrow's video, but it should be a video at some point, assuming Mark and I together can get through one of these monstrous puzzles that DiMono occasionally constructs. You know, DiMono, this is DiMono, who's famed for everything is Roggen, so you can imagine the absolute nonsense that DiMono can construct. Anyway, Mark and I are going to attempt a dual solve of one of DiMono's monsters, so look out for that if you have any interest in seeing how Mark and I collaborate on solves. I don't know how it's going to go, we shall see. But the other thing we've got coming up on Patreon, I think tomorrow, is a new kids Sudoku hunt, and this has been created specially by those wonderful folk in the Paint by Numbers Institute. And it's designed to get your children into variant Sudoku. So it's meant to be very approachable and hopefully fun. So I really, really recommend that to you as well. Anyway, with all that said and done, let's have a look at Coordinate Arrows by Piatato. And as I did that, I was just thinking, I have not got a clue how to start this, but do have a go. Yeah, so click the link on the video. I think I just said that. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I've read the rules. I get 2 given digits. Thank you very much for that, Piatato. And well, I can't put a 9 on an arrow. Is that worthy of? That must be true, mustn't it? If I put 9 on an arrow, by the time I've added the other digit on the arrow to the 9, I will have to write a 10 into the coordinates indicated by the arrow, and that won't work. So in fact, right. So in fact, my little brain has told me something. There are great swathes of this grid that are not available to be coordinated. Because any cell in the puzzle that has coordinates that add up to more than 9, which is actually anything, yeah, anything on the main diagonal adds up to 10, I think. Yeah, let's just highlight that for a moment. This diagonal, that is row 1, column 9. So if that was clued with a 1, 9, we'd have to write 10 into this cell. That doesn't work. And everything below this screen line won't work because the numbers will be too big. Let's pick that cell. That is row 5, column 6. So we'd have to write, if that was clued on an arrow, you'd have to write 11 into that cell. Right, so there is a great amount of this grid that is unavailable. Everything above this green line, I think, is available. I say that without much confidence, but I think that the cells that the arrows point to are in... Oh, why did I do that? No, hang on, I'll do it like this. It's because of my love of green. Okay, so we have got something. We know that those cells are the ones that are pointed at by arrows. Right. Ah, I see. Right. This is this is a very interesting idea. I will tell you that for nothing. Because, okay. So this, I think, leads to some sort of weird striping diagonal effect, doesn't it? Because that cell, if that cell is clued by an arrow, it's in row 1, column 1, so it would be a 2. But if this cell is clued by an arrow, it's in row 1, column 2, so it would be a 3, but that would be a 3 as well, because that would be a row 2, that would be in row 2, column 1. And if this was clued by an arrow, it would be in row 2, column 2, which is a 4, but that would be a 4 because it would be in row 1, column 3, and that would be in a 4 because it would be in row 3, column 1. Nori, 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 nori. Someone asked the other day why I say nori, nori when I repeat myself a lot. There is an old video in which I had to solve a logic problem. It was a Sudoku hybrid involving the logic problem nori nori, and I must have said nori nori in that video about 2,000 times. So when I have to repeat myself a lot, I say nori nori. But doesn't it, I think this just continues, doesn't it? That's row 2, column 3. That's row 3, column 2. 3 and 2 add up to 5. That's row 1, column 4. That's row 4, column 1. So this is just going to stripe. This is just stripey. Stripey, stripey, stripey. Ah! No! 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. 8, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, except I can't put 9 on an arrow. Hang on. What's going on now? Have I broken this? Right. No, this is this is even more interesting. So if an arrow, let's say this arrow down here clued that cell, that would be cluing row 2, column 7, which would be that. And that would be, but we know that to clue this cell, you have to put a 9 into it, because 2 plus 7 equals 9. But if you do clue any of the cells on this diagonal, you end up putting a 9 on an arrow, which you know you can't do, because then once you did this, you have to look at the effect of having a 9 on an arrow, and whatever this digit is, you're going to have to go off and put a double-digit number somewhere in the grid, which doesn't work. So actually what this tells us is you cannot clue this, you simply cannot clue this green stripe of 9s. You just cannot. These are not available to be clued. So now I've limited, how many arrows have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 12 arrows. Yeah, this is very interesting, actually. This is very interesting because I've got 12 arrows, but I can only pinpoint cells. I don't know how many cells I've got left. Oh, I've got 28. Triangular number for 7. In fact, this is such a beautiful pictorial representation of triangular numbers, isn't it? Because this is like a big snooker triangle. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I know the triangular number for 7 is 28. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, 6 plus 7 plus 8. Nori, nori. So, of my 28 cells, 12 of them are highlighted. But look, if you look at the 7s, for example, I can't have coordinates referencing more than 2 of those 6 7s in the grid. Because if I did, there would be 3 7s in 2 boxes, because the 7s are only appearing in this box and this box. So actually, the actual number of discrete possible digits that we can do here, that we can do the 2, we can do one of the 3s, because if we did both 3s, we'd have a repeat in box 1. So we've got 1, 2, 3 for a 4. Now it gets worse, because the 5s, you could have 3 5s. 1, 2, 3. So how many digits am I up to now? I'm up to 6. Now 6s, I could have 1, 2, 3. I could have 2 7s, but I can have a lot of 8s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 8s are a problem, aren't they? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I was hoping I was going to get something clever there, but I don't. I get 16 8s. No, not 16 8s. I get 16 possible different digits. But I've got 12 arrows to fulfill, so it's not quite as good. Maybe it's this 6, 7. Right, these cells are not green because I can't put. Well, when I say not green, I mean I cannot reference either of these cells because of the Sudoku. But that doesn't affect the count I just did. I got rid of a 7 from this diagonal, but one of these could still be a 7. I get rid of a 6 from here, but one of these can still be a 6. Hang on, if I put an 8 on an arrow, isn't that going to require me to put a 9 on it? No, it doesn't. Oh, hang on. Hang on, I think I've lost my train of thought now. If I put an 8 on an arrow, no. No, I am right. I am right. You can't put 8 on an arrow. You can't put 8 on an arrow, because if you put 8 on an arrow, we know you must put 9 on an arrow, because we know that the cells in the grid whose coordinates sum to 9 are all arrow cells, and that's impossible. That's why we were able to delete this diagonal. So your first thought is normally a good one. You cannot put 8 on an arrow, because to do so, you're going to end up referencing one of those cells, which is on an arrow. So these come out. Let's get rid of everything there. That comes out. Now hang on. I'm going back to my first thought now, because I've just got rid of 2 possible boxes for 8s. But I've still got 3 possible cells for 8s. So I've lost 2. So I was at 16, wasn't I? So I'm now at 14 versus 12. I've got 14 possible different, maximum possible different digits that I can reference. But I'm only allowed. I've got 12 arrows to do that for. That's absolutely fascinating, isn't it? I mean, there are some other things I can see, like you can't make both of those a 6 now, can you? Because if I do try and have, so if I try and have 3 6s, that doesn't work anymore. Oh, this is so cool. If you have 3 6s, you have one of these two is a 6, doesn't matter which one. But then those two both have to be 6. But 6 plus 6 is saying put a 12 in row 6, column 6. That doesn't work. So I can't have 3 6s. So I've only got a maximum of 2 different 6s now. That must be right. That must be right. So now I'm down to 15. 15 out of... No, I was at 14. Now I'm down to 13. I've got 13 possible different digits and 12 arrows to deal with. Now, how do we get rid? We've just got to get rid of one more, and I'm not even sure what that's going to do. But it feels like what Piatato is making us do, doesn't it? I mean, we're literally forced to do it. Why? I'm not sure, actually. Is it? I know. I was wondering whether I could get rid of 2 on the basis that would have required a double 1 arrow. But actually, look, a lot of these arrows do... I mean, you can't put double 1 there. That's going to break the rules of Sudoku, but you could put double 1 there. So, in fact, you could put double 1 in a variety of places. So that this one doesn't seem to be able to be ruled out. So I can't get rid of a digit easily that way. What about this box then? I can't put 9 on an arrow, can I? So 9 in this box is a bit restricted. Now, if I put... See, this is the bit of it that I'm having exactly the same mental block that I was just dealing with, but I can't put 8 on an arrow in this box either, for exactly the same reason I couldn't put 8 on an arrow here. It's exactly the same, but I just had to go through the same thought process again because my brain is useless. If I put 8 on an arrow in box 9, it's the same problem. Because I would have to accompany it with a 1, I'm going to hit this stripe of digits with a 9, putting a 9 on an arrow, which doesn't work. We've already said that. So 8 is in the same position down here that 9 is. So now, presumably, we look at 7, do we? So if I put 7... You see, I'm never ever. So 7 has to go with 1 in. Well, if 7 is on an arrow in this box, it has to go with 1, because if I put 7 with 2, we know that is referencing a digit on that diagonal where it will be on an arrow, and we will put 9 on an arrow, and that doesn't work. So 7 goes with 1. But that doesn't seem to work either. So maybe I can't put 7 on an arrow either in box 9. This might be where I was meant to start the puzzle, you know, rather than thinking about this stuff I've been doing up here. 7 and 1 is there, but that doesn't work because that puts 8 on an arrow where we know 8 can't go because of this iterative thing, and 1 7 is there, which is on an arrow. Yeah, this is beautiful. It's really clever and very hard to just see. I think there will be those of you out there who just see this, but unfortunately I'm not just seeing it, but hopefully I'm explaining it. If we put 7 on an arrow in box 9, because we can't, we have to avoid this diagonal's coordinates like the plague. We're going to be in a 7-1 land, but we don't know which order it will be in. So we don't know whether we're looking at this square or this square. But one of those will be hinted at by the arrow if we put the 7 on an arrow in this box. But the problem here is that both of these purple cells are themselves on arrows. So we're going to write 8 into one of these cells. But that means we're going to have to accompany that 8 wherever it lives with a 1, and that's going to be an 8-1 arrow, which is putting a 9 on the dreaded diagonal where we're not allowed to put the 9, because that will put 9 on an arrow, and that will require us to put a double-digit number somewhere in the grid. So, nori, we can therefore say that this is, in fact, a 789 triple. That is not a 7. Now we have to put 6 on an arrow, and we know we mustn't partner 6 with 3, because 6 with 3 is going to put us on the naughty coordinates in here, isn't it? Whether it's 3 6 that one or 6 3 that one, we'd end up on the naughty diagonal. So 6 is going with 1 or 2. Now if we put 6 with... Oh, it's so beautiful. It doesn't work again for the same reasons as before. 6 and 2 are those two squares. Yeah, we should have started down here. 6 and 2 are those two squares. Whether it's 2 6 or 6 2. But that's putting an 8 on an arrow, which is going to put a 9 on an arrow, which is going to break the puzzle. So therefore... Right, therefore, one of these arrows is 1 and 6. I have no idea how to show that. But what that's doing is putting a 7 into the grid in one of those two positions. That's jolly exciting. How on earth do I record that? One of... I don't really know how to do this. I'm just gonna imagine for a moment this is a 1/6 pair. And just make it purple. Just because I want to try and record the fact that somewhere on an arrow in this box is either a 1/6 or a 6/1 arrow, and it's going to be pinpointing a 7 in one of these two squares and taking one of the two 7s we know could possibly exist on this diagonal. Okay. Okay, so let's check 5 down here then. So 5... Well, 5 can't go with 4. We can say that straight away because 5 and 4 are highlighting those two cells, which is on the naughty diagonal. 5 and 3, that's row 3, column 5, and row 5, column 3, are these two cells. So they would be cluing an 8. And if that was the case, what would the other digits be that we'd be left with? 2 and 4. So that would be cluing a 6 in one of these two positions. That almost feels interesting because that would be ruling 6 out of here, whichever way round that was. Oh, 5, 2 and 3, 4 are both on the same diagonal. Oh, that's it. It's so easy. Oh my goodness me. I'm so sorry. Right. Right. Oh goodness. I've even led myself to this and failed to drink the water. The mystic chords of my memory totally failed. Right. You cannot put 2 and 5 together in this box on an arrow because the other arrow will be a 3/4 arrow. And you may say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, the combination of 1, 6, 2, 5 and 3, 4, whatever the order is, whether it's row 5, column 2 or row 2, column 5, row 3, column 4, row 4, column 3, obviously this is all pinpointing stuff on this diagonal. So if there are 2 other arrows in here, let's just show you. If that's 2, 5 and this is 3, 4, this is all pointing at putting a 7. It's telling us to put 3 7s now, this box, along this diagonal. Well, that's not going to work. There's only 2 boxes for the 7s to go in, so we will necessarily repeat a 7. So the 5 doesn't go with a 2. So that's it, isn't it? That's it. We've done it. So what have we done it? The 5 can't go with a 4 and can't go with a 2. So the 5 goes with a 3. We don't know where, but it goes in this box with a 3 somewhere, which means the other arrow is a 2, 4. Now this is all completely arbitrary. I don't know where the 1, 6 or the 6, 1 or the 3, 5 or the 5, 3 go in this box, or the 2, 4 or the 4, 2. I just know that this is the order of play. This is what we will find goes on each arrow. So now, well, now what do we know? What's this telling us? This is telling us that one of these 8s, so let's give this a colour. One of these 8s is being highlighted by this. and this one will make orange, and that's telling us that either row 2 column 4. Right, okay, well this does allow me to do the logic I was trying to do before, because now this digit can't be high, can it? In fact, it's a 1 or a 2. No, it's not. It's a 1. It's a 1. It's a 1. It's a 1. Right. Let's be very precise about this. Right. First thing we can say is this is not possible. This cell here cannot possibly be coordinated with, say, a double 3 here. 3 plus 3 equals 6. It would require a 6 in this cell. Well, that's not going to work because this arrow or this arrow would be broken, because the digits on it would add up to 12, and we can't write a 12 anywhere in the grid. So this cell loses its greenification and loses its ability to be a 6. Now, this square, therefore, because we know the maximum digit we can put in on an arrow is a 9, this has to be a 1, 2 or a 3. But we know we're not allowed to do the naughty 6, 3 combination, because that's going to put us a 9 on an arrow, so that comes out. 6, 2 doesn't work because that's going to be here. Oh, in fact, we do know the order actually, because the 6 is always at the start of the arrow here. So row 6, so it's always, so if it was a 2 here, we're always pointing at this cell, which we can't do because that's on an arrow, and that leads to the iterative nori naughty purpose. If we make this a 2, that's an 8. But that means this is a 1, because we can't make this arrow add up to more than 9. And now we're plonked into this square with a 9, which means this arrow is going to point at least a 10. That doesn't work. So we can't do that. That's got to be a 1. And that means this square, well, hang on. So I've got 2 7s in the grid. Oh, this is really cool. This is really, I mean, this is just uniquely brilliant from Piatato. Absolutely amazing, because look now, this is saying row 6 column 1, this cell is a 7, which means this one, which we don't know where it goes in this box, is not allowed to also clue this cell, because each arrow is pointing to a different coordinate, so we can't have another 6, 1 arrow. So this arrow in this box has to be a 1, 6 arrow and is pointing at that cell. So this, in fact, gains its purplification. This loses its purplification and gains orangification. I don't know if I know which one of these is the 6 still. No, you don't. That's so strange, because I don't know the order of the 2, 4. And whichever one of these is the 6, it has the same effect of putting a 7 here. But that means, so that means none of these are 7s, so they lose their greenification. Now, 7 in box 5 is restricted. I'm not sure whether I can put 7 on an arrow. If I put 7 on the... If this is 7 on the... No, this doesn't work. You can't put 7 there. If you put 7 there, I've got to put 2 there, and that feels like I'm putting a 9 in a naughty place. Row 7, column 2, which is that cell, would then be a 9, and that's on the naughty diagonal where we can't do that. So that's not 7. So 7 by Sudoku and a bit of jiggery-pokery in box 5 goes exactly there. And therefore, because that's not an 8, that is not a green cell, which knocks another... Oh... I'm going to do a recount now of my green cells, because I'm not sure. When I did my count of 6s, did I know I did some thinking about whether I could I knew I couldn't have 3 6s, but no, isn't this enough? This is enough, because once I worked out I couldn't have 3 6s, I got to 1 degree of freedom, didn't I? And I've just got rid of an 8 here. So I think we might now be in a position where we can say, for example, there has to be a double 1 arrow in the puzzle. Let's just do this slowly. So, how many different green cells could we possibly now have referenced? So we know that these are referenced, 1 and 2. We could have 2 8s on that diagonal, that's 4. We can have 2 6s now, so that's 6. Although if we did have 2 6s, we've got to be a bit careful. I don't think those two could be 6s. I think you'd have to have that one. But we come back to that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We could have 3 5s, 7, 8, 9, 1, 4, 10, 1, 3, 11, 1, 2 is 12. This is it. This is it. So now we are quorate. We have got 12 possible digits we can place, because we can only have 1 4. Obviously, I couldn't have arrows pointing at that one and that one. That's going to lead to 2 4s. So I need to have 3 5s. I need to have 3 5s. So those in the finished grid, these cells are actually 5s. I don't know how to, and now I don't know how to do this, because I'm just trying to think about what's the right way to well, yeah, for example, I know this is a 2 in the finished grid. I know one of these is a 3. I think what I'll do is, I think we might be in a position where we can lose the greens, actually. And what I could do is I could replace this with a pencil mark 3. I know there's a 3 in one of those two, and I know it's referenced. I know there's a 4 in one of these cells, and I know it's got to be referenced by an arrow. I know there's a 5 in one of those. It's got to be referenced by an arrow. I know these actually are 5, so they need to stay there. Now, let me come back to the thing I was doing about this. There's a 6 here and a 6 here. Now, I know there are 2 6s being referenced, so this is definitely referenced by something, and it might be this, but it might not. But if that was also... so let's say there was a 2 4 arrow in the grid and a 4 2 arrow in the grid. That would be putting 6s in both of these squares, but both of these arrows then would be referencing the same cell, row 6, column 1, and that's not allowed. I think that's not allowed. All the arrows must correspond to different coordinates. No, they would be pointing at the same coordinate. So this disambiguates the 6. This is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Do you see? I hope everyone's seeing what this does. So because I need 2 6s to be referenced by arrows, I know this is referenced by some arrow in the puzzle. That stops this being referenced, actually, because I'd have both of these arrows pointing at the same coordinate, and that forces this to be referenced by an arrow, but this is not capable of being referenced by the 2 4 that I've got in this box down here. So this box down here must now point at this specific arrow, which means that it means to be in row 4, column 2. So, I mean, the problem is that this might not be here, but we do know that the first digit is a 4 and the second digit is a 2. Now, does that mean... Yes, I see. Right, now remember also we worked out that row 6 column 1 is pointing at this one. So this one needs to be pointing at by this one, which must be row 1 column 6, which means that digit is not 6. This digit is not a 1. So this is a 1 or this is a 1 6 arrow. Oh, this is so easy. Oh, God. Right. Now, this has been available for ages. Look, this square, which we know was being referenced by the 1 6 in this box, well, the 6 here rules out those two tips as from containing 6. So this is right. This is an actual 6 and a 1, because that's the only place we can put the 6, the column 6, in box 9. So now there is definitely, whichever one of these arrows turns out to be the orange arrow, there is definitely a 2 in one of those squares, and definitely a 4 in one of those squares. Now, so there's a 3 5 or a 5 3 somewhere. It would be nice to know which of the 8s was being referenced, wouldn't it? 7. 7 is down here. I'm not sure whether I can put 7 on that arrow yet. If I put 7 on an arrow, no, you can't put 7 on an arrow. And the reason we know that is simply by colour. We can just look at the grid and say, are there any green cells in row 7 or column 7? No, there aren't. So how could I possibly put a 7 on an arrow? You can't do it. Because we know that everything is referencing a green cell up here, or that cell. Actually, I can recall that one's green, so that's clear. This is a 7. Doesn't do any magic down here. No, okay. 6 is in one of 2 places. In box 5, the crow caws outside my window, and we get stuck, do we? Well, we had a good run at it actually. It went far better than I thought when I first read the rules. I'm not sure exactly how to approach this now. I mean, I can see that it's not even true what I was about to say. What I was about to say, I'll say it because it was how I was trying to do it, is that yeah, I mean, I've got to put 3 5s onto arrows, don't I? Because I've got to clue these 2 in column 5 and this one in row 5. So I've got to put 3 5s on arrows. And actually these arrows, well, it's quite difficult to put 5s in a lot of space. I mean, that one could have a 5 on it, but only here. How many have I got? I've got 1 5 on an arrow, so I need 2 more 5s on arrows. I can't put 5 at all on that arrow, or this arrow. Right, hang on. Let's try and do this actually a little bit. I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I'm just not sure how to do this. Row. I've either got row 3. The thing is, I don't know what this is. So it's either row 3, column 5. Well, no, actually, I've got to find row 3, column 5 and row 5, column 3, don't I? because that's the implication of this. But without knowing what that is, or it could be this one, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what I'm hunting for. That definitely can't take a 5. That definitely can't take a 5. That cannot have a 5 on it. That cannot have a 5. It's really interesting the way the geometry works here. So this could have a 5, but only in one position. This could have a 5, but only in one position. We know there's a 5 possible here. Hang on, I need... and I've got another one here. Oh, bobbins. Wherever... okay. Wherever the 5 is in box 1 is going to stop one of these arrows from being... Yeah, I mean, imagine that was a 5. You can't then put a 5 on that arrow at all, so that would be removed. And if this was a 5, you couldn't put a 5 on that arrow at all, so that one would be removed. So I can't put 5s on both of these arrows, only one of them. So now I get a count of 1 between those two arrows, 2 for that arrow, and 3 for the arrow in this box. So I think this arrow has to have a 5 on it. No, that's a very mild deduction. I think that felt correct, didn't it? It felt logical. And we've got 3's, 5s, and then this square, which is row 1, 1, 5. One of them has to be. That can't be 1, 5 actually, because there's a 1 in one of those squares by Sudoku because of this one. So this one can't be 1, 5. Oh, I was about to say, but there has to be a 1 on an arrow in this box, but that's not even true. Right, okay, so how do we do this? What's the way of doing this with some sort of aplomb? Is there a way? Probably not. I don't know. Oh, bobbins, come on, Simon. Use your brain. Do I know? Or maybe I've actually got to think harder about the specific order of these 8 clues. So one of them will be 3, 5. One of them will be 5, 3. Is there one? So the one. Okay. So the one that's 3, 5. That's more difficult, I think. Yeah, that is more difficult. Yeah, one of these is 3, 5, and needs an arrow. So it has a 5 in its second position. Now those can't be that, those can't be that, that can't be that, that can't be that. That can't be that. So it's either this one or it's the one in here. Oh, that's no good, is it? I don't think that's any good. And then one of them is 5, 3, which is much less restricted. Although if we knew where the 3 was in that box, it would be helpful. And then one of them is, what was the other one? 1, 5. 1, 5. Oh, so that's got a 5 at the end of it as well. Ah, hang on. Hang on, I think I've missed something here. This clue has to be referenced by a 1, 5 clue. So the 5 is the second digit. It's in the tip of the arrow. Now, which arrow tip can take a 5? Nothing. Now, this is it. This is it. Right. So the only arrow tip that can contain a 5 at the end, but have a 1 at the beginning, which is what's required for this square, I think is this one. I'm just going to double check this. 5 can't go here. 5 can't go here. It has to be in a tip. Those two are out. This is 3, 5 or 5, 3 in some order, which we might actually know what the order is in a moment. Yeah, so there's only this one. So this is 1, 5, which means that is not a 1. And, oh, and we know the order. Of course we know the order is 1, 5. So that, oh, see, this is where it's going to get really interesting. If I could just, well, hang on, because the other thing I was thinking about is whichever one of these 8s is 3, 5, which is this one, because that's got to have a 5 in the second position in the tip square, and that can't be in any of those, or that one. So we now know the order of this arrow. It's 3. It's got 5 on the left, 5 in the tip. So this is a 2, 5 pair now, and this is a 3, 4 pair now. But we still don't know the order of this. At least I don't think we do. That 5 doesn't do it. It doesn't look at the 2 and the 5. Right, so sorry. So now now what we should do is try and tick off what we've referenced. So this 1, 5 is referenced that. So let's give that, I don't know if we give it a color or something, but that's done. This one in this box, whichever one it is, whichever one of these squares is actually blue, is doing this one. So that one loses. We haven't done this one yet. And this one is row 5, column 3. So I am going to think about that in a moment. Especially as that can't be a 3. Oh, I'm getting very confused about this. I want this one. This is row 5, column 3. And that means I've got to put a 5, 3 in that order. So that doesn't work. That one might work. Right, so let's tick off ones that don't work. This doesn't work because that would have a 5 in its beginning. That doesn't work because of this 5. This doesn't work because of this 5. That's got a 1 at the end, so that's no use. That's got a 5 here, so, and this one can't be 5, 3 because of the 3 here. So it's only this one. This is 5. This is 5. This is 3. That's this square. So these 3 need the same color. Let's greyify them. Oh, this is lovely. This is lovely. Now I get a 5 there. And therefore this one loses its greenification, and that one we're going to have to figure out where the coordinates are for at some point. The 3 gets placed up in this box where that loses its greenification. 3 is in one of those cells by Sudoku. Oh, and look! The 3 here tells us we're finally going to know. We've got this. I've got this in the wrong order. So this is 4, this is 3, and we know 4 goes with 2 and 3 goes with 5. So the 3, 5 pair needs to be that one, doesn't it? So that we've got to change these over. This was wrong. That becomes blue. That becomes orange. I don't know. I don't like the way I've got 2 digits. Yeah, what I should do, the 2, 4 is looking at that one. And then this is really, let's give the 1 a little colour. Let's give that light green because that's doing that one. So these are both done. That one is not dark green, so it doesn't need to be referenced. So in terms of what things have not been referenced yet that are green, it looks like a whole chunk of 5s I've not done. Whichever one of those is a 4. There is a 2, isn't there? So there does need to be a double 1 arrow, which could actually be there. There is a 3 in row 1, column 2, so there needs to be a 1, 2 arrow somewhere. There's definitely a 1 on an arrow in box 2. And there's definitely a 1 on an arrow in box 3. How many 1s am I suppose I do need a lot of 1s on arrows, actually. How many 1s do we need on arrows? I need 2 1s on arrows for this 2, because it's got to be a double 1 arrow. So that's 2. 3, because that's row 1, column 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is the minimum, I think. 8 is the minimum, because what we could end up with is if there's a 4 in either of those 2 squares, wow. I was about to get very excited about Sudoku of all things, but I don't think I have the right to. That square by Sudoku sees a lot of different digits. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's a 4 or a 9. How do we get rid of 9 from this square? If that's a 9, does that do something to anything? 9s are very difficult. It's not on an arrow, so I think it can be a 9, I think. Anyway, where was I? I was thinking about 1s. I was thinking about how I need at least 8. I need at least 8 1s on arrows. This 1 is annoying though. That's on 2 arrows. So does that count as 2? Yeah, I suppose it does. It counts as 2. So it sort of offsets this one. So 1, 2. Oh, well, maybe it's a box count of arrows. Oh, I've just noticed something. There's a 1 here. There's a 1 in one of those squares. One might be where we have to look, actually. I think I've sort of not appreciated what's going on here. Let me just think about this for a moment or two. How do we do this? What's the trick? So no, sorry, and I'm sort of jumping around, and my brain is flitting all over the place, trying to work out how this fits together. But what I was wondering about is, I know I've got to put 8 1s on arrows, but this arrow I think is really annoying, because if that arrow if this wasn't 2 arrows at the same time, then you can't put a 1 on an arrow in that box. So the obvious question to me was, okay, well I know there are 8 1s in the rest of the grid, because there's got to be a 1 in that box. So in all of the other boxes, there are 8 other boxes, there are 8 1s. And if I knew I needed to put them all on arrows, happy days. happy days, because that would immediately give me a 1 here, for example, because I'd need to put a 1 in this box on an arrow. It would have to go there. But I think it all gets slightly knocked out of kilter by this being on 2 arrows, which means that, yeah, all of that sort of lovely conclusion falls by the wayside, because I don't need to have, well, unless there was a 4 for sure in one of those squares, that would do it as well, because that would up my required ones count to 9. 9 on arrows, and then I would need a 1 in every box to be on an arrow. Bah humbug. So, okay, I'm not sure how to do that. It's possible what I should be doing is Sudoku, which of course I'm very reticent about doing. 6 is in one of those squares. Let's have a think about whether we could work some other form of logic here. 8 maybe. 8 is a little bit restricted in this box here, so 8's in one of those squares. Can we put... No. I surely can't put 8 in the tip of an arrow, because that's saying column 8 has got a green cell in it, which it certainly doesn't. So that's got to be an 8, which means that is not an 8 in the corner. I didn't really think about the Sudoku implications of fixing all of this box's geometry, did I? Like, there's a 3 now in one of those squares. What about... Well, hang on. By Sudoku, I can't... Surely it's the same logic. In fact, it is. Where does 9 go in the top row? I can't put 9 on an arrow. We established that. That was the very first thought I had. So 9 goes there. That's really annoying, because I wanted that to be a 4. Now, these squares are now 1 and 4, which means, and they're in the tips of arrows. So that's, one of them is highlighting something in this column, and one of them is highlighting that cell. That's the only thing it could be. Column. Now I've confused myself. I think that's right though, isn't it? One of these is a 4. The only green cell I've got in column 4 is this one. So that means one of these arrows is a 1, 4 arrow. Well, it's not this one, because that can't be a 1. So it must be this one. So that's 1, that's 4, that's 1. And this 1, 4 arrow is doing that cell. So these all need their own colour. Let's give them their own colour to keep ticking off things that we've actually kept track of. Now this square... Well, this is interesting as well, because this can't be the 2. Because if it was the 2, it would be a double 1 in this box. So it's either this square, which would require this to be a 4, which it can't be, or this square, which it can't be. Oh, this is beautiful. Please let this be a 4. Well, when I'm a 4, I mean, including this square. I'm going to think about this. Hang on. So this needs to be cluing a green cell in column 1. It cannot do this one. It cannot do that one. This one's already been clued by this clue. So there must be another green digit in column 1. And the only one that you could possibly have is a 4 here. And if that's a 4, this is a 3. 3 plus 1, it's in row 3, column 1. But the exciting part about this, I'm sure you've all got it already, the exciting part about this is not actually this. It's the fact I've slipped another, I've slipped this 4 now into a 1 position. Sorry, I realise that's probably not the most descriptive thing I could have done in my life. Oh, that's a 6 by Sudoku. Yes, it is. That's a 6. So that's an 8 by Sudoku, and that's not a 4. That's a 7. Okay, so there's some things we can do with Sudoku, but I'm going to come back. Am I? Oh, I'm jumping around again. 8 in this column. I'm going to do that first. I haven't been looking for 3s in corners, by the way. 8, 9. Oh, no 3s in corners. No 3s in the corners. The puzzle has let itself down, but I will forgive it because it is one of the most beautiful things I've ever done in my life. Now, 3, I was almost going to say, is in one of those squares. I've got to come back and tell you about ones. That surely is the point of this. So now, if we do the count of how many arrows in this puzzle need to contain a 1 on them, we know. Well, we've got to get rid of the green for these squares because these don't deserve it. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the 2 should have double 1, so that's 6, 7, 8, 9. There need to be 9 1s on arrows. Yet this box cannot have a 1 on an arrow in it. So how on earth do we achieve this? Well, the only way we can achieve this is because this beautiful arrow here does double duty. So that takes care of 2 of the arrows for this box. But I've still got to put in the other boxes 7 1s on arrows. And there are 7 boxes. And there are no other arrows that look at a single cell like this one. So every box needs to have a 1 on its arrow. Have I already done? Oh, this would be so sad if I've already sort of... No, I haven't. No, I really haven't. Look, this box needs a 1 on an arrow. Well, that means that it's not there. So it's got to be here. And that, look, that's the double 1. Oh, I'm not doing a very good job of keeping track of this, am I? I'll make this red again, just because I need to keep track of things. Now, what about, there's got to be a 1 now on an arrow in this box, and it's not there, so it must be here, I think. Feels right. So that's a 1. How many 1s have we got? I've got all of them now. Okay. Alright, so that's as far as that logic's going to take us. But what we ought to do now is to mull over what arrows have we not used. So we've got this arrow, and this arrow, 3 arrows, and they've got to cater for these 3 jobbies. Now this is saying a row 1 jobby. Because this is in the start of the arrow. So the only row 1 jobby we've not used is this one. So that needs to be a 2. And that means that's a 3, using pencil marking. And that's a 4. And now this column needs 2 and 9. And somehow or other that's not resolved. Never mind. These squares need to be 4, 6 and 7. So that is a naked single 4. And that doesn't tell us anything. Bobbins, 3, 8 and 9 into these squares. Okay, but when we did the 1 and the 2, we need to keep track of the fact we've now done that arrow, haven't we? So let's use, let's use orange again. Now this arrow, and where was the other one? This. Oh, well, let's do this one. We've got a digit on this one. So this is column 1, which is this string. And it must be that one then. So that's got to be a 4. I love the way as well that this is actually sort of working, isn't it? In the sense that we're not getting clashes as a result of the logic that's requiring us to place a 4 here. And then we can just finish this off by saying, what is the coordinate of this? Well, it's row 2, column 3. So that's row 2, that's a 3, and it's not clashing because logic sort of works, doesn't it? And then we've got a 2, 9 pair, which is there and there. These squares down here are somethings. 4 and something. 3, is it? I think it is a 4, 3 pair. Okay, let's finish off this row. So that's a 6 now by Sudoku. Look, this has got to be 2 and 7. I don't believe it. Okay, that's not done. 2 and 7. These squares have got to be 5 and 9. That is done at least. That's got to be the 5. That's got to be the 9. This column has, oh look, where does 7 go in it? It's got to go here. And that gets me the 9 and the 8. This square here is an 8 by Sudoku. And this is an 8 by Sudoku. This row needs 4 and 9 in it. 9 goes here, 4 goes here. We need 2, 3 and 5, so we can do that. Yes, we can. That gets me the 2 and the 7 at the top. This is a 5 by Sudoku. These squares here are 6 and 9. And humbug. We can't do them, I don't think. The 7 here does some 7 and 6ing. The 9 in the corner does the 9 and the 2ing. We need a 4, 6 pair. That's done. So 4, 6, 6, 9. This is a 3 by Sudoku. That's a 9. And in this box we've not put in, I'm just savouring this moment, 2 and 8. It does look right, actually. It really does from a Sudoku perspective. Come on. Yes. The solution is correct, which I think means that it knows it's right. Solved since May the 12th 2. Is that because I've just increased it? I don't know. I don't know, but what I do know is that is a quite incredible puzzle from Piatato. That is unlike anything I've ever seen before in Sudoku. It's completely mad and completely gorgeous. I mean, the fact that you can sort of start it by working out that everything has to be in the top left-hand corner of the grid, and that has implications you can use. It's just crazy clever, that. I mean, I am sort of lost for words at how and lost in admiration. It's beautiful. There are so many things about it. This whole idea of making the 9 diagonal have arrows on it and therefore knocking it out of play. I mean, who has that idea? I don't know. Piatato did though. That's one of my favourite. That's one of the favourite puzzles I've ever done on the channel. Full stop. It's that good. It's crazy. Wow. Nori. Let me know in the comments how you got on with that one. I will be looking at the comments with interest. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Please give it, maybe even think about subscribing. You never know. More like this is to come, I'm sure. But that was sensational, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.